All right, folks, buckle up because this one is wild. We've got Congress suddenly acting like transparency is their new religion. We've got Trump saying he'll sign the Epstein Files bill. And we've got the media already spinning this thing faster than a DC lobbyist at a fundraiser. And the big question everyone's asking, the question you clicked for, is this: is the White House hiding something? Because after decades of stonewalling, suddenly everyone wants the truth? Yeah, pull the other one. So let's dive into this clip. But before we do, please take a moment to comment your thoughts, like and subscribe, and yeah, milk it to the end to help this channel moving. Without further ado, let's break it down piece by piece and call out the nonsense when we see it. You know how we do it. No fluff, no filter, just straight talk.
The bill to force the Justice Department to release all its files in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation is expected to land on President Trump's desk this morning. He said he will sign it. He hasn't said exactly when. What we do know is that this is a stunning reversal for the party and the president, who had tried to block the release for months.
Oh, there it is. Stunning reversal. The media absolutely loves that phrase. Anytime Trump changes strategy, they act like he's committed a federal crime. But let's be real. Politicians dragging their feet on releasing Epstein files, that's not unusual. That's standard swamp behavior. And guess what? Both parties have done it. Republicans, Democrats, presidents, senators, billionaires. Epstein had his tentacles everywhere. So when they say stunning reversal, it's like, yeah, maybe the political winds shifted, or maybe the pressure finally got too big to ignore. But the idea that Trump was the only one holding back Epstein info? Come on. That's like saying only one guy was responsible for a group project when everyone else was hiding the homework in their backpack. If anything, this bill passing is proof of what we've all suspected. Washington doesn't release anything until they're forced to, and now they're pretending to be transparent? Yeah, right.
For survivors of Epstein's abuse who have fought for years for justice, this is an enormous victory. Still, there is skepticism about what happens after the president puts pen to paper to make the files public. With me now is attorney James Marsh. He is representing victims of Jeffrey Epstein. You represent many clients, including Maria Farmer, who was the very first person known to have reported to the FBI that she suffered abuse by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell back in 1996. I'm just curious how she is responding, seeing what is happening with Congress and the promise by the president to sign this.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's really sort of miraculous what's happened to her in the last few days. She's had a great deal of health problems. She's been suffering physically from this for a long time. And she got a report just a few days ago that many of her test results are positive for the first time in many, many years. So this is a real manifestation not only of the toll that it takes on victims and survivors, but how, the move towards justice and accountability can really make, in this case, a physical difference on her health. So she's very, very happy for what happened yesterday, with the realization that this is really only the beginning. You said all the files? Well, that's a big definition, all the files.
Yes. I do want to talk about what she told our Erin Burnett. She spoke to her for the very first time publicly, and she talked about this encounter that she had after being called to Epstein's offices in New York when Donald Trump, she says, showed up. Here's what she said.
Trump's standing here, I'm here, and he walks out of his office and he goes, "Oh, no." He was laughing at me. And he goes, "She's not here for you. Follow me," right? And he escorts him in to this other room. But he made a joke to Epstein, "Oh, I thought she was 16.
CNN charges into the mud here. They love taking any random story, no matter how flimsy, and tying it to Trump like it's the last thread of their sanity. This entire moment, a decades-old anecdote, conveniently resurfacing just as the files are about to drop, is treated like gospel. No video, no recording, no corroborating witness. But hey, it says Trump in the quote, so the media leaps on it like a kid on a candy bar. And notice something. The White House denies it. And they point out Trump was never in Epstein's offices. But CNN just glosses over that because it ruins their narrative. This is classic election year positioning.
Don't look at the Democrats who are on the flight logs. Look at Trump. They're terrified of what the actual files might show, and they're already crafting distractions. Maybe ask why so many Democrats kept hanging out with Epstein after Trump banned him from Mar-a-Lago. But no, that would require honesty.
Now, the White House is denying all of this, saying Trump was never in Epstein's offices. He's calling the Epstein files a Democratic hoax, and he's now pushing the DOJ to investigate Democrats only and their involvement with Epstein. When you put all that together, including their denial, are your clients and you confident that you're going to see all the files? The DOJ is not going to cherry pick any of this and release them all?
No, we're not confident. I mean, that's the easy answer. Our clients are not stupid. The American people are not naive. They know that it's taken decades, in many cases, to get to this point. And a curious aside about the president, he was a Democrat at the time, if you recall, before he became a Republican. So whether or not this is a Democratic hoax, a Republican hoax, you can change your party, you can change your tune, but you can't really change what's in the files.
Okay, this is actually a rare moment of truth from the guest, because that line is spot on. You can switch parties, switch narratives, switch messaging, but the files, those don't change. And that's exactly why the political class has been terrified for decades. The files don't care whether you've got a blue tie or a red one. They don't care if you're progressive, MAGA, or whatever label you slap on yourself during election season. The truth is the truth. And let's be honest, the government has been sitting on these files longer than TikTok has existed. If they're this scared now, imagine what's in there. The big question, and this is why the title matters, is whether the Biden White House is actually going to release everything, or whether they're going to review, redact, scrub, protect identities, or whatever other DC legalese they use to hide the powerful. Because history tells us one thing. When the government says all the files, they mean the files that won't embarrass us.
And our clients know that, and we feel that we've jumped the first hurdle, and we're at the sort of the end of the beginning. This is no way over by any measure.
You have filed suit against the United States government, particularly in Maria's case. What is it that you are suing for against the government, and what ultimately does justice look like for your clients?
There's been a lot of budding accountability on the part of the banks. We've seen those lawsuits. We've seen the emails come out from the estate. There have been other lawsuits against private individuals. What we do not know is what is in the federal government files. It's very important to remember that the files that were released were from the estate. All those emails, all those revelations that took the world by storm, I don't know, 3 days ago, here we are. We don't know what's in the government files. So we really feel that that is the missing piece of accountability. In 1996, when Maria Farmer made her report, Jeffrey Epstein was already under investigation as part of the Tower financial scandal. He was also under investigation and was sued by the State Department that leased him the former Iranian consulate in New York City. These are facts that people have long forgotten, but we want to go back to the beginning, find out that what law enforcement knew. I'm very happy that they listened, and the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York also has to release their litigation files. There's a huge record in the government files on Jeffrey Epstein, and we want to know who facilitated and who contributed to his rise to power. We think that will be found in the government files, and we hope for some government accountability and the creation of a fund or some kind of means to compensate these victims for the government's failure.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there, and we heard from the victims with just stunningly emotional comments about how they have tried to survive all of this, and they're finally getting a little bit
it's been decades
of
for many
relief,
of them.
at least some acknowledgement here.
Yes.
James Marsh, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be talking to you.
Thank you for your coverage, and keep on this story. I don't think we're near the end, anywhere near the end.
Thank you. We do appreciate it.
Thank
and we
you.
will.
The bill to force the Justice Department to release all its Jeffrey Epstein files. It has passed both houses of Congress and will become law when the president signs it. Now, he says he will, but when and how? Unclear. Now, he does like public signings. This year, we've seen him hold signing ceremonies for such things as restoring the presidential fitness test. That's right there. He did a signing ceremony for the Genius Act, a cryptocurrency regulation law. He signed a slew of executive orders on camera on Inauguration Day, of course, including a pardon for the January 6th rioters. So Can we expect the same kind of public display when he signs the Epstein bill? Let's see. With us now, CNN political commentators Bakari Sellers and Scott Jennings. Scott is also the author of the brand new book, like out yesterday?
Yes, sir.
A Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought for Westernization. Soon-to-be best-selling author Scott Jennings, I'll go first to you. Will the president storm into a signing ceremony for this Epstein law? Do we expect the same kind of public attention as is given to the Fitness Act?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I personally wouldn't expect a lot of fanfare. I mean, it feels to me like they're just in, okay, fine, let's get this over with mode. And so, but I don't really know. I haven't asked them and I haven't heard.
Why just get over it? Why not embrace it as something to shine the light on what all these women we saw yesterday were calling for?
Well, look, I think there's two things going on here. They deserve all of the justice and attention that they should want or should get because of what happened to them. I still am a little puzzled why they and the members of Congress that they've been working with haven't just told the public, what they know about who was involved in this, but that's their prerogative. But at the same time, Trump, look, he thinks all of this has been ginned up to create a narrative about him that isn't true. Democrats want people to believe he had something to do with this when he had nothing to do with it. And at the same time, we are finding out that even after Trump excommunicated Jeffrey Epstein from his life, Democrats continue to remain close to Jeffrey Epstein. But in Trump's mind, the narrative is he is somehow involved in this, right. Even though we have Democrats fundraising with Epstein, we have Epstein programming congressional Democrats like Stacey Plaskett, and on and on and on. So I think it's become a source of frustration for him on the political narrative.
But it was the Trump administration in July that decided not to release this after, of course, they said they were going to, and after President Trump was informed that his name was in the Epstein files. Bakari Sellers, to you also, Bakari, I should say, an author of, I think, at least 3 books at this point, including 1 children's books and 2 grown-up books. Great to have so many fantastic authors on the show this morning. What do you expect the president now to do with this, either publicly, and what do you expect will happen in the Justice Department in the coming days?
First of all, congratulations, Scott, on your book coming out. That's always an amazing day for authors around the country when that occurs. But getting back to Jeffrey Epstein, I don't anticipate the president doing this with much fanfare. In fact, I am concerned about the prerogative given to the Department of Justice to scrub the files and not be fully transparent.
Oh, finally, someone said it out loud. This is exactly the fear everyone watching this has. And it's the same reason distrust in Washington is at an all-time high. The phrase, scrub the files, should terrify everyone, left or right. That's swamp language. That's we're about to hide something and pretend it never existed language. And the DOJ, the same DOJ that has played politics for years, the same DOJ that can't even investigate its own scandals without tripping over itself. You think they're going to release the raw, unfiltered Epstein files? Come on. These people redacted half the Mueller report like it was a CIA assassination manual. And notice how the Democrat guest tries to spin. Republicans are muddying the waters. Republicans are confused. Republicans are conspiracy theorists. Buddy, the only people muddying anything are the ones controlling the black Sharpies at the DOJ. The truth is simple. If these files implicate anyone with power, anyone, both parties will try to control how much gets out. That's why pressure matters. That's why the public has to demand all of it. Because if we don't, they'll disappear evidence faster than Epstein disappeared in that jail cell.
We do know that there's no daylight between Pam Bondi and the wishes of Donald Trump. And so I don't expect the full reckoning of the Epstein files. The irony is that there are 2 pieces of irony. The first is that the person who asked for the full release of the Epstein files on the political stage was Donald Trump back in 2015. Second, you hear the Republican talking points about Jeffrey Epstein and fundraising with Democrats and communicating with his member of Congress and Stacey Plaskett during a conference hearing. But that's vastly different, and Republicans are conflating the issue on that point, and they're hoping to muddy the water because the question is and surrounds the untoward activity Jeffrey Epstein had with his guest on Epstein Island.
All right, folks, that was the clip. And honestly, the biggest takeaway is how nervous everyone suddenly is. For decades, the government hid these files.
Now they're trying to act like transparent heroes while quietly giving the DOJ the power to scrub things clean. Don't let the media distract you with unverified Trump stories. Don't let politicians pretend they're innocent bystanders. If the files actually get released unedited, big if, there are going to be names, institutions, and entire political circles shaking. So stay tuned, stay skeptical, and keep the pressure on. Because if the White House is hiding Epstein's secrets, this might be the moment the truth finally slips out. Like, comment, subscribe, and drop your predictions below. Who do you think is sweating right now? Let's keep watching.